Hello, true crime and wine time friends. Thank you for joining me, your host, Terry Dussault, as I dive into the case of an NFL star who turned out to be pure evil. Well, that's in my opinion, and it's my podcast, so he was pure evil.
Hi guys, Kira from Murder and More here. I am the solo host of the UK-based true crime podcast where each Sunday I tell you about a murder, disappearance, or serial killer, and I even have a conspiracy theory thrown in there. You can find us on Twitter at Murder and More, or head over to our website www.murderandmorepodcast.wordpress.com to find out more.
For today's episode, I am enjoying a rabid red blend with too many varietals to mention. It's soft and simple with modest cherry berry flavors, yet clean, dry, and smooth. Let's get this open. One day I'm going to get better at this. Oh, that one didn't pop very well. Oh well, but see how it goes. Ooh, it smells yummy. Let me give it a taste. Ooh, I like it. Very berry flavored, but yet smooth and adult flavored. Not sure quite how to say it, but this is good. Move that bottle out of the way. I want to thank you for listening to True Crime and Wine Time. And if you enjoy our podcast, it would mean the world to me and handsome hubby if you would go to Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and give us a review. 5 stars in 1 sentence. It only takes a minute and means the world to us and helps keep that wine flowing. This episode contains graphic content about brutal dog abuse and killings and may not be suitable for all listeners. Michael Dwayne Vick was born June 26, 1980, to Brenda Vick, age 16, and to Michael Boddie, age 17. Vick was born in Newport News, Virginia, which at the time of his birth was known for drug dealers and gang members. Vick was the second child for Brenda and Michael, who had a daughter a year before named Christina. Brenda and Michael did not marry for another 5 years, having 2 additional children, Marcus and Courtney, before their marriage. So not a typical beginning, but not the worst that most of us has seen or heard about. Michael Vick's father was an absentee father, a lot of the time, because he spent almost 3 years in the Army before finding a job in Newport News. The majority of the responsibility for raising the children was left to Brenda, who I must remind you was only 15 at the time of her first child's birth and 16 when her son Michael Vick was born. One thing to note is that all of the children said their mother was their everything, and that is why they chose to go by Vick instead of Boddie, which was their father's last name. Brenda ran the family and home with precision and kept her home immaculate. Brenda worked at the nearby Kmart, and despite their meager earnings, the kids were extremely well cared for. Michael Vick was 3 years old when his father gave him the nickname Bullet and passed his passion for football onto his son. An interesting fact about Michael Vick is that he was right-handed, but from the first day he picked up a football, he used his left hand. He threw with his non-dominant hand. Vick learned a lot about football from his older cousin, Aaron Brooks, who went on to play in the NFL. Vick was a great student and spent every free hour working on his football skills, everything from throwing to learning how to run. Vick was known as an upbeat, polite, and focused child until he hit middle school, where he started getting into trouble. Michael Vick continued playing football, but also played baseball and basketball until giving up every sport for football. Michael Vick went to Warwick High School, where he tried out for the varsity football team, but the coach felt Vick needed a year on the junior varsity team. So, to Vick's dismay, he was signed up to the JV team, where during his first 6 games, he threw for 20 touchdowns. Meanwhile, the varsity team was struggling to win. Coach Riemann decided to move his star junior varsity player to play on the varsity team, hoping to shake things up. Well, he did. In Vick's first varsity game, he threw for 433 yards on just 13 completions. Vick continued to shine during his high school career, with Coach Riemann sending him to several football camps and even gave him one-on-one coaching. Riemann knew Vick had something special. By the end of his high school career, Vick was considered among the top 5 high school players. During his 4 years at Warwick, Vick threw for 4,846 yards and 43 touchdowns and ran for another 1,048 yards with 18 touchdowns. So, for those of us that are not huge football fans, and for those who this means nothing to at all, I can tell you this is damn good for a football player. This is a good time for me to take a sip of this yummy wine, because this case starts out like so many others with a person who has so much potential but chooses to go down the wrong path. As one can expect, the colleges were very interested in Michael Vick, and he narrowed down his choices to Syracuse and Virginia Tech. Syracuse coach Paul Pasqualoni, not sure I said that right, promised Vick he could wear Donovan McNabb's number 5 if he came to play with them. While Virginia Tech sold him on the closeness to his family and friends, Vick's coach, Raymond, felt that Vick would be better served by going to Virginia Tech because he needed time to develop, and that Coach Frank Beamer planned to redshirt Vick. Vick listened to his high school coach and went to Virginia Tech. Michael Vick arrived at Virginia Tech in 1998 and joined the football team, where he practiced with the team but was on the bench his entire freshman year. Michael Vick suffered as many freshmen do from missing his family. Vick spent many hours on the phone with his mom, Brenda, and at the end of the football season, Vick went home to see his mom and family. Vick impressed his coaches with his running skills and vertical leaps. Michael Vick had learned to practice hard and spent all of his time either working on improving his physical game or by watching video reels to improve his mental skills, as he had done since high school. At the beginning of the football season in 1999, Coach Beamer played Michael Vick as the starting quarterback and as the only non-veteran player on the starting team. Vick was named first team All-American by the Sporting News and took home the honors as the Big East Offensive Player of the Year, the first freshman ever to win the conference award. Michael Vick came in third for the Heisman Trophy, joining only 2 others ever to be a contender. Vick also won the first ever Archie Griffin Award and attended the ESPY Awards to collect his trophy. Michael Vick, to say the least, was enjoying the spotlight. Sadly, Vick did not have a great second season, with everything from declining stats due to heavy coverage by other teams to an ankle injury that had him on the sidelines. It was after he completed his second season playing for Virginia Tech that Michael Vick started considering whether he would finish playing out his college career or go into the NFL draft. There was a lot of talk that Michael Vick could go in the top 5 if he joined the NFL draft. At first, Vick was inclined to stay in school and play college ball for at least another year. But the thought of going in the top 5 was heady and in 2001, Michael Vick announced he was leaving Virginia Tech and would be entering the NFL draft. Michael Vick was the number 1 pick going to the Atlanta Falcons with a potential 6-year contract valued at $62 million, including a sign-on bonus of $15 million. Geez, no wonder he left college. However, I have to say, I'm a mom of 2 boys, and giving a 21-year-old male a $15 million sign-on at once is insane and not a good idea. But just my 2 cents for Mama Bear. Okay, friends, I need a drink before we get into more of this story, as it's going to get insane as we continue. Dan Reeves, the Atlanta Falcons coach, had a plan for Michael Vick. Reeves felt that Vick was an extremely talented young quarterback who had the potential to be great or greater than John Elway. Coach Reeves planned on keeping Michael Vick contained to help him ease into playing in the NFL. Unfortunately, due to injuries to the starting quarterback, Reeves had to move up his plan and put Michael Vick in the game sooner than he anticipated. Michael Vick worked hard in the offseason as he had done all of his life, and he wanted to be the starting quarterback for the team. It was said that Vick's teammates liked him and trusted him, which is a big deal considering they were older and more experienced. Vick's first season as the start was a huge success. Michael Vick enjoyed many successes and set several records during his time with the Falcons. Vick was named to the Pro Bowl 3 times, and in 2006, Michael Vick became the first ever quarterback to rush for over 1,000 yards in a single season. Needless to say, Michael Vick was good at his job. Sadly, Michael Vick was not as good off the field. In April 2007, Michael Vick's cousin and cook, Devontae Boddie, was arrested for narcotics and possession with intent to distribute. Devontae gave his address as 1915 Moonlight Road, Smithville, Virginia, as his residence. I need to tell you this property was owned by Michael Vick. On April 25, 2007, police searched the property on Moonlight Road and found clear evidence of a dogfighting operation. During their search, police found blood spatter, dog treadmills, pry bars used to open a dog's mouth, and a rape rack, which is a tool used for breeding dogs, and 60 plus dogs. Now, I have to stop and say several things about this piss me off. First, why in the hell is anything called a rape rack? A breeding bench? I mean, come on. Things have to happen for cow. I mean, breeding happens, but a rape rack? Come on. Michael Vick at first denied that he went to this property and that he was only associated because he owned it and his family used the property, which was proven to be a lie. While investigating the dogfighting operation, police talked to the neighbors and others in the town and had eyewitness testimony putting Michael Vick not only at the property, but at the local store buying supplies for the dogs. Michael Vick told ESPN that he himself was an unwitting victim of family and once again denied any involvement. Michael Vick placed the property at 1915 Moonlight Road up for sale in May 2007 for half of the estimated value. The property sat on 15 acres with a 4,600 square foot home that had 5 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms. A developer bought the property and it was later sold. I will tell you more about the current owners of this home later in the story. Now, I need to take a drink of wine because this case is now getting to the part that makes me totally insane, pissed off, and just hurts my heart. Today's episode is sponsored by Podcorn, who I have to say is my new best friend. When I decided to start my podcast, I wondered how to make a little money on my new adventure. Thankfully, I found Podcorn. Podcorn is a marketplace for podcast sponsorship opportunities, and it is for podcasts of all size. Other sites I reached out to told me to reach back out when I hit 5,000 downloads, not Podcorn. Their platform lets me view all the sponsorships that are available and send proposals for the opportunities I feel are the best fit for me and my show. I still own my podcast, and the team at Podcorn has been there to help me the whole way. Shout out to Todd at Podcorn, who has helped me since I joined. If you are thinking of starting a podcast, already have a podcast, or if you want to get your company or brand out to a wider audience, go to our show notes and click on the Podcorn link and start browsing. Thank you, Podcorn, for sponsoring this episode and for being a great platform for all podcasters. Okay, let's get to it. As we can all guess, the general public was in an uproar. None more than the Humane Society of the United States, who called upon the NFL to take dogfighting seriously and look at their players who were linked. Gerald Poindexter, the prosecutor for Surry County, told ESPN that as of May 2007, he did not have any hard evidence against Michael Vick and that the case was still under investigation. On May 27th, ESPN reported that a confidential source had reached out and said they had been involved in a dog fight back in 2000 and claimed that Michael Vick was one of the heavyweights in the dogfighting world and that Michael Vick would bet on the fights, sometimes up to $40,000 per fight. On May 31st, prosecutor Poindexter told ESPN again that a confidential informant had come forward and given credible testimony in the case. When asked if there was any evidence against Michael Vick, Poindexter replied, "Yes. If he did anything, he won't get away with it. If we can prove it. But it's not easy, and we are moving carefully, slowly, to build a strong case." Dwayne Boddie told reporters on June 7th that he was a victim of conspiracy by authorities and that his Fourth Amendment rights were violated by the search of the property on Moonlight Road after his drug arrest. Boddie also apologized for his role in the dogfighting investigation and said that he wanted Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, to know that it was all his fault and that his cousin was not involved. He went on to say, and I quote, "They're just making Michael look like something he's not. I want to apologize to Atlanta Falcons fans for what's going on. It's a lot of drama." At the same time that Boddie was talking to reporters, federal officials were executing a federal search warrant at the Moonlight property, seeking buried bones of the dogs which were suspected to have been killed during the dog fights. Prosecutor Poindexter was surprised that the feds got involved, as he felt he and the local sheriff were handling the investigation just fine. Now, I also have to tell you that Gerald Poindexter, who is the prosecutor, had a relationship with Michael Vick's father and had just a few years earlier in a personal case as a defense attorney. Now, since Poindexter was a part-time prosecutor, he often took cases through his private firm. Poindexter told a reporter that he was, and I quote, "absolutely floored that the federal officials got involved. What is foreign to me is the federal government getting into a dogfighting case. I know it has been done, but what's driving this? Is it this boy's celebrity? Would they have done this if it wasn't Michael Vick?" He went on to say, "There's a larger thing here, and it has nothing to do with any breach of protocol. There's something awful going on here. I don't know if it's racial. I don't know what it is." Based on the documents filed by the federal investigators on July 2nd, 2007, dogfights sponsored by Bad News Kennels located on Moonlight Road had been held at the property at a minimum since 2002. It was stated that the participants for the dogfights came from South Carolina, North Carolina, Maryland, New York, and possibly other states. Documents also stated that they had found the remains of 9 pit bulls buried on the property. The indictment listed Pernell A. Peace, also known as P-Funk and Funk, Quanus L. Phillips, also known as Q, Tony Taylor, also known as T, and Michael Vick, also known as Uki. Okay, now I have to be honest here. When I first read that Michael Vick was also known as Uki, I was like, seriously? You're a star football player, and the world knows who you are, and you have an alias like Uki? I mean, come on. Really, dude? You could have come up with something better. Enough of my thoughts on Uki's name. I need to have another drink because what I'm about to share is some seriously deranged and downright evil information. The indictment, which you can see a copy of on our website at truecrimeandwinetime.com, along with our sources and photographs, list the following offenses. A. Traveling interstate commerce with intent to commit any crime of violence, a business enterprise involving gambling. B. Knowingly sponsoring and exhibiting an animal and an animal fighting venture. C. Knowingly buying, transporting, delivering, and receiving for purposes of transportation in interstate commerce any dog for purpose of having the dog participate in an animal fighting venture. The indictment went on to tell the manner and means of the conspiracy to commit these crimes by purchasing the property, giving it a name, setting up a staging area, purchasing dogs, training dogs, developing the animal's fighting ability by testing the fighting of the dogs, disposing of dogs not showing this prowess, and much more. The indictment goes on to tell how the operation was created in early 2001 with Michael Vick, aka Uki, purchasing the 15-acre property for $34,000. It is alleged that in 2001, the group started acquiring pit bulls for their operation, starting with 4 dogs purchased from North Carolina, 1 dog from New York, 6 puppies, and 1 female dog from Virginia. They went on to purchase several other pit bulls during 2001. The group continued improving the property for their dogfighting operation by building privacy fences, building a house, and burying car axles with chains and creating a staging area. Based on the indictment, on or about February 2002, Parnell Peace and Michael Vick tested the dogs in a short match to determine their fighting ability. One of the dogs did not perform well, and Parnell Peace executed the dog by gun. It is alleged that during the summer of 2002, an additional 4 dogs were tested in prowess fights, with 3 of the losers being executed by gun and 1 being executed by electrocution. The Bad News Kennel held multiple fights at their property. They traveled to other fights, and they hosted a grand champion fight, which is a fight for dogs who had won 5 consecutive fights. The indictment goes on to list out each fight that they had evidence or a witness for by estimated date, along with the winner and prize amount. It is also stated that in early 2007, Peace, Phillips, and Vick executed 8 dogs that did not perform well in testing by drowning, hanging, and slamming the dogs against the ground. The 4 were indicted and each faced $350,000 in fines and 6 years in prison if convicted of the federal charges. Sorry, guys, I need to take a drink. I'm a huge animal lover, as most of you know, and this just hurts my heart in so many ways. A report was prepared by the Inspector General investigating, giving more information regarding the animal's treatment. The report included information about how Michael Vick, Peace, and Phillips thought it was funny to watch the dogs injure or kill other dogs. The report went into the details of how the three hung 3 of the dogs by placing a nylon cord over a 2x4 that was nailed to a tree located next to a big shed, and they drowned an estimated 3 dogs in a 5-gallon bucket of water. I'm like, WTF, who does that? Not only did you train and torture these dogs in fights, but you also killed them in a way that caused them an extreme distress and pain. Maybe they didn't want to fight. Maybe they just wanted to be someone's faithful companion. Maybe you should have let them live for that reason. Okay. Michael Vick at first said he did not kill any of the dogs himself, but after failing a polygraph, recanted and admitting to killing of several dogs in 2007. Again, what the hell? You're a football star making millions of dollars. Why in the hell are you running a dogfighting operation and killing dogs? Why? Because in my opinion, you're a terrible human being. Oh, let's not forget a liar who only told the truth after he failed a polygraph. Okay, I'll get off my rant. The same day the indictment was filed, the Humane Society of the United States once again called upon the NFL to step in. They wanted Michael Vick suspended under its disciplinary code. The 4 defendants were ordered to appear in court on July 26th. On July 19th, U.S. Senator Robert Byrd, a known dog lover and man after my own heart from West Virginia, told the U.S. Senate the following, and I quote, "Dogfighting is a brutal, sadistic event of the worst sort of cruelty of the worst sadistic kind. One if left wondering who are the real animals, the creatures inside the ring or the creatures outside the ring." Nike on the same day also announced it had suspended plans to release a 5th Vick signature shoe. At the time, they did not terminate his contract. Senator John Kerry of Massachusetts sent a letter to Roger Goodall stating, and I quote, "I urge you to treat this issue with the utmost seriousness as the case progresses. In light of the seriousness of the charges, I believe that Mr. Vick should be suspended from the league effective immediately." On July 23, 2007, Roger Goodall sent Michael Vick a letter saying, "While it is for the criminal justice system to determine your guilt or innocence, it is my responsibility as commissioner of the National Football League to determine whether your conduct, even if not criminal, nonetheless violated league policies, including the personal conduct policy." And that he was ordering Michael Vick to not report to the Atlanta Falcons training camp. All 4 defendants appeared in court on July 26 and pled not guilty, with a trial date being scheduled for November 26. They were released without bond, with conditions and direct court supervision. The very next day, Nike suspended Michael Vick's contract without pay and told the public they would not sell any additional Michael Vick product at Nike-owned retail stores until further notice. The NFL, Adidas, and Reebok announced they would stop selling Vick football jerseys and other related Michael Vick merchandise. And it wasn't long until Rawlings, Dick's Sporting Goods, Sports Authority, and others joined and stopped selling Michael Vick merchandise. The first one to fall was Tony Taylor, aka T, who changed his plea from not guilty to guilty of the charges. Pernell Peace, aka P-Funk, and Quantus Phillips, aka Q, also changed their plea from not guilty to guilty after accepting a plea deal. Prosecutor Poindexter told reporters that because of the federal plea deals, it will be easier for him to charge the four with state felony charges of dogfighting conspiracy charges and killing of a companion animal. There is a maximum sentence of 5 years for each charge. Michael Vick was the last one to change his plea from not guilty to guilty after accepting his plea deal, admitting that he had participated in and funded an interstate dogfighting ring, with his official statement maintaining he did not place bets or take any prize money. For those of us who are not good with math and dates, if this started in 2001 and Michael Vick went into the NFL, shortly before and received that large sign-on bonus, bet it's pretty safe to say how that was paid for. On the day Michael Vick accepted his plea deal, Roger Goodell suspended Vick from the NFL, writing in a letter to Michael Vick that Vick's admitted conduct was not only illegal, but also cruel and reprehensible. Goodell also cleared the way for the Atlanta Falcons to assert any claims or remedies to recover $22 million of Michael Vick's bonus. But guys, it's not over. On September 25th, Michael Vick is indicted in the state of Virginia on one count of unlawful torturing and killing dogs and one of promoting dog fights. Each charge could result in 5 years. Michael Vick was required to submit himself for drug testing. And guess what? Yep, you guessed it. Michael Vick failed his drug test on September 26 for marijuana. He was ordered to attend substance abuse therapy and mental health counseling. And my thought is, seriously, Judge, you're just now making him get mental health counseling? My opinion, this should have been mandated as part of his plea deal. As part of the plea deal, Michael Vick agreed to plead guilty to pay a special assessment of $100 per count of conviction. He agreed to make restitution for the full amount of the costs associated with the disposition of all dogs that were taken from his property. Vick agreed to submit to additional polygraph tests, if required, to not break any federal, state, or local criminal law. Michael Vick also had to forfeit the sum equal to the cost of the property and other proceeds from the dog fighting operation. Michael Vick was sentenced to 23 months as part of his plea deal for the federal charges. And I must note, I found several articles online that said he did do, a substance abuse class, but there's no record of mental health counseling. However, I'm going to say maybe that's kept on the down low for HIPAA. Just going to say. Michael Vick still had to face the state charges in court in which he pled guilty under a plea deal. As part of the plea deal, Michael Vick pled guilty to the state dogfighting charge only as the state dropped the charges of killing a companion animal. Michael Vick received a 3-year suspended sentence from the state upon completing his 23-month prison sentence, and then he will serve 3 years probation. At his sentencing hearing for the state charges, Michael Vick said, "I want to apologize to the court, my family, and to all the kids who looked up to me as a role model." I also need to tell you that I found many opinions online about whether the sentence of 23 months in prison plus the 3 years probation was too light or too harsh. I have my opinion, and I can say that I don't think 23 months was long enough, considering he tried to lie, but I am not the judge. Michael Vick filed for bankruptcy in July 2008, and as of today, he has sent his final payment to creditors. Michael Vick paid back $17.4 million of the $17.6 million he owned. Okay, I need to take a drink before I continue because that was a lot of information and I have a whole lot of feelers going on right now. On May 20th, 2009, Michael Vick was released from prison after serving 19 months of a 23-month sentence. Vick was picked up from prison by his fiancée at the time, Kahaja Frink, and he returned to Virginia. Vick's attorney told the press that Vick's first goal was to spend time with his children and his loved ones, but that his ultimate goal was return to the NFL. The Atlanta Falcons owner, Arthur Blank, said that Vick deserves a second chance, but it won't be with Atlanta. Seriously, people, tell me, why does he deserve a second chance to play for the NFL? He is already getting a second chance to live free. Why should he have the chance to make millions again? I mean, he's just walked out of prison. I got to take a breath because that infuriates me beyond words. As part of Vick's probation, he was in a home confinement for a period of time and began work as a laborer for a construction company making $10 an hour, and he had to wear an ankle monitor. As we can all guess, Michael Vick knew he had to work on his image if he was going to get back in the NFL. During his final time in prison, Michael Vick met with the Humane Society of the United States president about working on a program aimed at ending dogfighting among urban teens. In June of 2009, the Atlanta Falcons released Michael Vick, making him an unrestricted free agent. Okay. For those of you that don't understand, he was suspended while he was in jail, but he was still under contract. They have released him. And I have to tell you, I remember this time very clearly because I remember hearing rumors that Jerry Jones was looking at Michael Vick for the Cowboys. I was not a happy camper or happy football wife. And handsome hubby kept telling me I needed to tone it down because I was getting a little bit outrageous and I was getting little Nancy Grace on him. But no way in hell was I going to cheer on the Dallas Cowboys if they signed Michael Vick. It wasn't going to happen. Thankfully, I got my wish and he was not signed by the Dallas Cowboys. Thank you, Mr. Jerry Jones. Michael Vick did go back to the NFL. He signed a 1-year contract with the Philadelphia Eagles on August 13th, 2009 for a contract potential of $1.6 million with zero guarantee and an option for the following season with a potential of $5 million. Now, mind you, he got out in May. In August, he's back. Now, I'm sure Michael Vick was happy to be back in the NFL, but damn, I bet that $1.6 million bruised his ego. Pretty damn good for a dog beater, fighter, and killer. And that is in my opinion. Michael Vick's teammates voted him for the Ed Block Courage Award, which honors players who exemplify commitment to the principles of sportsmanship and courage. Michael Vick said, and I quote, "It means a great deal to me. People, really, you vote to give this man an award for his commitment to sportsmanship and courage? Why? Because he can run and throw a football? Courage to play football again? I mean, I just can't. I mean, I am trying really hard to give you the story and not all of my rant. I am a huge animal lover and I have a hard time with this story." Michael Vick went on to make his 4th Pro Bowl and was named the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. In 2011, Michael Vick signed a 6-year, $100 million contract with almost $40 million guaranteed. Michael Vick was back. And as I said earlier, he was a damn good football player. Never have said he was not. He was. He was a good football player. And it seems he's turned his life around. However, the next couple of seasons were rough for Michael Vick, with him losing out the starting quarterback role to Nick Foles. And in 2013, Vick was able to reclaim his role as a starting quarterback for the Eagles. Vick started out performing well, but that soon went downhill along with him suffering several injuries, which led the team moving Foles back into the starting role. Michael Vick left the Philadelphia Eagles and signed a 1-year contract worth $5 million with the New York Jets. Vick had a decent season, becoming the first quarterback to reach 6,000 rushing yards during Week 10. After completing his season with the Jets, Michael Vick signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 1-year contract worth $970,000. Many Pittsburgh Steeler fans were not happy, and there was a huge backlash on social media, with fans saying that they would never support the Steelers again. The Steelers president, Art Rooney II, defended the signing of Michael Vick on KDKA TV, saying that he felt Michael Vick had proven himself following his release from prison. Michael Vick suffered a hamstring injury, causing him to miss 6 games, and he was inactive the remainder of the season. Michael Vick officially retired from the NFL on February 3rd, 2017. Michael Vick's NFL playing career may be over, but not his football career. After a few attempts after retirement at other roles, Michael Vick became an NFL analyst on Fox NFL Kickoff. Michael Vick's past has hit the headlines again after it was announced he would be honored at the 2020 Pro Bowl. At this time, there is a petition going around asking for the NFL to reconsider this honor based on Michael Vick's past. I found a quote from Michael Vick on Wealthy Gorilla that I want to share with you. The first day I walked into prison and he slammed that door, I knew the magnitude of the decision that I made and the poor judgment and what I allowed to happen to the animals. And it's no way of explaining the hurt and the guilt that I felt. And that was the reason I cried so many nights. I have to admit, I was one of the people that, as you probably guessed by my earlier commentary and rants, that Michael Vick didn't deserve a chance to play in the NFL again or to be honored at the Pro Bowl in 2020. Well, as I was researching for this episode, I decided to take a look into what Michael Vick has done since leaving prison in 2009. And I want to share with you what I found. Yes, he went back to the NFL and he made millions more that he put in the bank. He has also worked to stop dogfighting and to get the Animal Fighting Spectator Prohibition Act passed in Congress. He has stayed out of trouble with the law. He married his longtime love, had his 4th child in 2018, and if you believe the tabloids, he cheated on his wife. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. He owns a dog. And before I say anything, I want to share Michael Vick's statement with you. I understand the strong emotions by some people about our family's decision to care for a pet. As a father, it is important to make sure my children develop a healthy relationship with animals. I want to ensure that my children establish a loving bond and treat all of God's creatures with kindness and respect. Our pet is well cared for and loved as a member of our family. This is an opportunity to break the cycle. To that end, I will continue to honor my commitment to animal welfare and be an instrument of positive change. Well, I'm going to be honest. He does deserve and did deserve a second chance to play football, and it appears he has made his amends for his past. However, with that said, I'm talking about his career there, not his ability to own a dog. I personally don't think he should own a dog. If he wants to teach his kids about animals and such, they can volunteer at an animal shelter on the weekends. They would learn a lot about animals, but they would also learn a life lesson. Just because you spend time in jail doesn't mean your record is totally erased. If people who molest or rape others are put on a sex offender list and pedophiles are not allowed to live by schools and stuff, why in the hell should a man who admitted to killing dogs training them to fight, be allowed to own a dog. So I am okay with him being honored at the Pro Bowl. He was a good football player. He was an outstanding football player. And yes, he is working to make the world better for animals. I would even be more impressed with Michael Vick if he was smarter and told his kids they can't have a dog because of his past. If he took ownership of that. I mean, get a cat or a rabbit if you want to teach your kids to love animals. I told you earlier I would update you on what happened to the property on Moonlight Road. Well, I am happy to tell you that what was once formerly the location of Bad News Kennels, aka Michael Vick dogfighting operation, it is now the home of the Good News Rehab Center for Chained and Pinned Dogs, owned by Dogs Deserve Better Group. That makes my heart happy. The group's founder, Tamara Thane, said, "We are in essence giving this property back to the dogs that were abused there by using it to help other dogs just like them." And I say cheers to this group. My heart is just overly happy. And the dog lover in me is just overjoyed. I want to share with you where the dogs are now that were found, or some updates, I should say, that were found on Michael Vick's properties. There's a documentary called The Champions that tells about some of the dogs' stories. It is a must-see documentary. These dogs were the first ones not immediately put to sleep for fear they were too dangerous. So normally when pit bulls are found or any dog found from dog fighting operations, they're immediately put to sleep. Best Friends Animal Sanctuary took in 22 dogs and set out to prove that these dogs could be turned around. This group of dogs were called the Victory Dogs. I found on the bestfriends.org page lots of information about these dogs. Like some of the dogs would flatten themselves like pancakes to avoid being noticed by people. Others express fear of other dogs and humans. However, these dogs all learned to love and trust people, living out their days as they should have been all along, happy. Out of the 51 pit bulls that were saved that day in 2007, 47 were able to be sent to 6 different rescues that were handpicked. The 4 that were not sent were either humanely euthanized or died while they were in the shelter immediately after they were taken into custody. Many of the dogs were adopted to loving families, and the others found their forever homes at the sanctuary. If you would like to donate to help Best Friends save and rehabilitate other dogs, you can go to their website at bestfriends.org. I also want to tell you, if you've never rescued a dog, it'll do your heart good and do that dog a lot of good too. I want to thank you, my listeners, for taking this journey with me today. It was a rough case for me as a huge animal lover. I believe in second chances and forgiveness, but I also believe in using common sense. As I stated, Michael Vick was an excellent football player, and he deserves to be honored at the Pro Bowl for his contributions to football. However, he does not deserve to own a dog. That is my opinion based on everything I read while doing my research. If you would like to interact with me directly and get information about our upcoming episodes, you can find me on Twitter at Terry True Crime or on Facebook, True Crime and Wine Time. I look forward to chatting with you soon. Hello, True Crime and Wine Time friends. If you are addicted to True Crime and Wine Time and want to help us keep the wine flowing and show your support of the show, you can join our Patreon family at patreon.com/True Crime and Wine Time. We have several different tiers and something for everyone. By joining our Patreon family, you will get all episodes a day early, and each tier has additional content like extra episodes, Q&A with me, your host, blooper reels, and much more. So, go support us today at patreon.com/truecrimeandwinetime. This episode was researched by Terry Dussault, edited by handsome hubby Phil Dussault, music by Ada Gold. Thank you for listening to True Crime and Wine Time. Until next week, stay safe, watch out for crime, and enjoy your wine time.